Good day, friends. Welcome to another Word of Gord. OBEJournal2019 number 7, if I'm not mistaken. And this morning, as I look out to the eastern sky through this window here, through the trees, little touches of peach and amber and light blue. I'm thinking about the recent passing of longtime researcher, UFO researcher, paranormal investigator, minder of government cover-ups and conspiracies, particularly in the UFO field, Stanton Friedman. He apparently passed suddenly while in transit, and I got the impression when I was told this a couple of days ago via Victor Vigiani's news service, online news service, that it was something of a surprise. Man was not in ill health that I know of, and I believe he was changing planes somewhere. My initial impression on reaching out, as it were, was one of shock and surprise. And, you know, having followed these matters for many years, I wasn't surprised myself. Souls often know on a fairly deep level when they're about to transit, and when they have decided that their incarnation has reached some level of fulfillment. That is a level that has been, you know, decided ahead of time, whether they know it or not, consciously, and is carried out by the soul, although the traveling ego is often shocked. And this was the case with Stanton. And I believe he was puzzled, bemused, wandering around suddenly as a sort of energized ghost, feeling rather good, as older people often do. He was not a young man, although he seemed to be reasonably healthy the last time I saw him at a conference, and in good spirits, as he often was. At the conference in Toronto a couple of summers ago, in the lobby, selling his books and sitting with his tea and his sandwiches. I had a little chat with him then. A friendly little thank you for all the great work that he had done. I'd, been reading his books on and off for, 30 years at least, as have many others, of course. So, there he is, a few days ago, a puzzled and bemused ghost. Not quite sure what has happened, but sensing that something fairly important has gone on, and at a certain point sees his crumpled body and realizes that, hey, that's me down there. And follows with, again, a sort of a bemusement, I got more than anything else, to the care of his body, as others take over the care of your body when you pass out of it. You can't take care of it. Some people try. I don't think Stanton did. And he was alerted by a spirit guide to his new state, in a fuller way beyond his initial, oh my goodness, look what happened, and was guided onward. And this is a few days ago, not that many, 3, 4, and I was advised not to seek immediate contact with him, as he was sort of, rest, recuperate. And although in fairly good spirits, from what I can gather, not annoyed or irritated, feeling that his mission was interrupted rather rudely. As some souls do, or I should say some egos. It's always realized at the soul level that it's time to move on, but the ego can be caught up in its ambitions and feel frustrated, and can take some time to turn over that frustration into patient acceptance of the way things are. And the realization that much of one's activities can be continued on in the next planes. But when I woke up an hour or so ago, it's about 5:30 in the morning now, about 4:15, I got the sense that I could make a contact with him without too much disturbance on his end. He's certainly interacting with friends and family members now, and is adjusting very well. His appearance hasn't changed much as far as I can see. Not that I knew him extremely well, but if you can judge by the photos and portraits you have seen online, that's a sort of variation on that is what I can see and feel. And that familiar, reassuring smile of his, that benevolent gaze, still there. And I think there's two things there. He sort of doesn't quite know yet that one can change one's appearance there, but is aware on some level that looking like he used to do is reassuring for maybe for me and maybe for those that I'm communicating with, and others that may reach out psychically to engage with him, as I'm sure others have. Others who may be watching and listening now. It's quite possible that you have a desire to communicate love and sympathy and gratefulness to this man for all the work that he has done over the 40, 50 years he's been involved. Many people have been touched by his work, and I suspect some of you have reached out while you were asleep. You have sent your thoughts, and part of you goes with those thoughts, and he feels them. And as I'm making this point, I'm getting a nod from him saying, yes, I do feel those thoughts. And I feel very touched by people's concerns. And I urge you not to worry about me. I'm doing well. I am, as we say, fine. Of course, there's an adjustment period. I'm not, suddenly, comfortable in this new world. There are many things to get used to. Ease of movement being one. speed of thought being another. Power of emotions, something I thought I dealt with years ago. Powerful emotions can surge up, and one's sort of, defense mechanisms are not quite as efficient as one thought they were. But this is a marvelous world, marvelous beyond any expectations of mine. A marvelously practical world as well. Things can be achieved without much fuss. Preparations are minimal. Focused thought and desire seems to be the byword here. You decide what you need or want to do or say or see, and you do it. A little confusing at first when you have many thoughts and many desires, but when you learn to limit them, as I have done in the last little while, things become very straightforward. I sense that some of you who have sent your thoughts and emotions on to me are wondering if Stanton, your Stanton Friedman that you remember so well, can pronounce on the state of the planet and the visitors. And I'm afraid I cannot. No more than I could when I was alive. I have yet had much what you think of as time to discover more than I already knew. And I have been contacted and spoken with by other passed on researchers, and those who you might think, Bud Hopkins, John Mack, who are, very well adjusted here. Although they have admitted that yes, when they first got here, it was a rough ride. John Mack seems particularly well adjusted and is involved in all sorts of research and interacting with beings from other planetary systems. And what does he say? Learning their stories. Myself, I haven't done that yet. I'm expecting that I will, and knowing that I will. But still, I'm getting adjusted. Much of my family is here, my extended family, and meeting up and doing all those family things. It's a great reunion of those who have passed on. And as I'm talking to them, I realize, I've passed on too. I'm here, they're here, we're all here. This is something that one doesn't really consider until one actually passes on. There's all kinds of family and friends here, people who passed on 10, 20, 30 years ago that you've, missed and mourned to a certain extent and then put aside in order to get on with your life. And here they are, all smiles and happy handshakes. It's quite the reunion, I have to tell you that. But as for insights into world government and the New World Order and which aliens are doing what, which visitors are interacting and which are using our resources without asking, and which members of the planetary elite are here. Well, there's plenty of them, I'm told, but I haven't met any. And frankly, the ones that I've been told about sound like very normal people. And it's unclear to me whether they are still believe that they can manipulate the levers of power as they could when on Earth. You know, the very rich, the very well connected. They now, some of them, John Max told me this, have had a complete reevaluation of their priorities. And sometimes it's been a bumpy ride. When you have power, when you have influence, and you get to spirit, and you join up with other people who used to have power and influence, and they slowly let you know that, well, you don't quite have that here. It's, you know, it's a shock. And they do take some time to get used to the new way of being. And radical infusion of humility is often what seems to help them. I'm still very interested in all aspects of my work and research, and will continue as soon as I feel able. Not that I'm unable as much as I'm, you know, it's more of an extended vacation. It is so lovely here. It is just absolutely marvelous. And every aspect of life here that I have seen, which is not much so far, is just gorgeous. The dwellings, the landscapes, whether rural or urban, all very beautiful, all very, it seems like they're giving to you as you pass through. Everything seems alive with, oh, I don't know, inner radiance. Some people are very joyful at that and believe that they're getting joy from the landscape. I feel a presence, a radiance, as best as I can describe it, and perceived through the filter of my old self, the one who is so used to being in public and interacting with many people. We'll see how long it takes to rediscover my private self. I can see that it's there, but I'm just kind of moving toward it, and then wondering how much of it is still, you know, useful and appropriate for this world. It's also new and really quite marvelous. I can't emphasize that too much. And I have been told, again briefly by others in the work, that I can travel the universe in my thoughts, in my thought body, I'm told. And many of you following the research will realize the significance of this, that it is the power of thought is being spoken of more and more from the contactees and abductees. The ability to move through the universe with thought that the visitors emphasize, and the importance of having a clear thought and focusing on it and knowing where you want yourself, or quote unquote the ship, to go. So in hearing this and realizing that I'm now not just researching it, but on the very edge of experiencing it, is thrilling. And, you know, there's so many new concepts to absorb here. When someone says to me, well, Stanton, you are a thought manifested. I'm getting there. But it's one thing to feel it or see it or speak it as an idea, but yet another to live it. And I'm not quite ready to live it. It's perhaps a little too exciting. So, excuse my tumble of many thoughts here. My communicator here that I'm talking to you through, this man who has offered his services, is his thoughts are much slower than mine, and I can feel all these ideas and thoughts tumbling into him, and only some of them getting out. And he tells me, yes, he realizes that that's the process of psychic mediumship. You can't get everything through. And in fact, you can only get a little trickle, to be quite honest. That's Gordon talking. But it's as best we can manage right now. So yes, the importance of thought, the consciousness is the vehicle of thought, consciousness which drives almost everything as far as I can see. My ambition to uncover the secrets of the subatomic world, the galactic expanses, the probing of all the apparent mysteries, the uncovering of all the conspiracies and cover-ups. Boy, I'm looking forward to meeting those MJ12 guys, see what they've got to say for themselves, although I suppose that many of you feel the same way, and you know, I suppose in their day they must have felt the need to cover this stuff up. Society wasn't ready for it, that the power brokers wouldn't let them be ready for it. They must have had all these thoughts. But it's been quite a journey uncovering their deceptions. I imagine they'll be able to justify themselves, justify their actions in terms of political and military pressures upon them. They did not exist in a vacuum. They may have achieved in their fields, but they were still being, how shall I say, directed by others. When you move into those hierarchies, there's always somebody or others above you and beyond you that have directives and expectations. I'm not feeling particularly angry at them. I'm feeling fairly understanding and forgiving. And I look forward to interacting with them. And the visitors from other planetary systems, I'm sure they're here. But so far I've been confining myself to the humans that are here, of which there are many. And what a great joy it is to be reunited and relaxed and happy and away from that troubled world that we share, that I used to share. I don't share quite so much now, but I haven't, the reverberations still reach us here, you know. There are many who keep in touch with the the Earth world and what happens from day to day. I haven't. I'm still, adjusting, but it doesn't take much effort to find out what's going on if you really want to trouble yourself. It's tempting, like being at a vacation spot and thinking, shall I read the newspaper? Shall I look online? And thinking, no, I'll sit here and play chess and have afternoon tea or swim in the pool. And so I'm still at that stage. I'm still at the swimming in the pool stage and going, how marvelous is all this? So, feeling a little frustrated that I can't get stuff more thoughts into my communicator's brain, and Gordon here apologizes for that. I'm not a multi-channel system, or if I am, I can't seem to realize it. I've only got one mouth, and I'm sure a lot of you think that's more than enough. So, Stanton, may I just say, I'm very aware of the many people who have felt greatly touched by your passing and have been meditating on your contribution to your field of research and your awakening of a humanity to its secret destinies and position in the galaxy, shall we say. People are seeming very grateful, Stanton, all across, from many countries. And he's receiving that thought with graciousness and thanks. Amongst researchers, your integrity was almost unparalleled. I know that, and much respected. I think Stanton feels that this is enough for this visit, and I thank him for taking the time and effort to tell us how he's doing. And may I pass on all the love and honor that has been expressed on the internet, Stanton. Yes, yes. Thank you, thank you. Okay, friends, well, small interaction with Stanton Friedman, and thank you for that, Stanton, and thank you all for taking the time to listen. And well, it's almost daylight, almost complete daylight here, and I'm sure there will be another. Well, that was a spirit contact, essentially, talking OBEJournal number 7. I was going to continue on with some other explorations from other sources, from the V. Van Dam books, about our contact or sources in other planetary systems before we were human. And there are other experiencers who have wrote about that sort of thing. And I glanced around for the appropriate book to read, and I couldn't immediately see it, but I will get to it. It's by a man called William Gamble. It's about 10-15 years old, and he has a number of interesting sort of psychic experiences, one of which is being given a visionary recall of how shall we say, disrobing as another type of being altogether, whether it be Pleiadian or Andromedan or Syrian, and morphing into being a human for many incarnations on this planet. And I'm just giving you a little summary there. There's quite a bit more in his book, and I will get to that, because I think it was brought up by one of my correspondents, and this notion that we are not just sourced from other galactic incarnational patterns before Earth, but we are, some or all of us, have extensions in these places right now. So it's an important point, and it bears thrashing over, carefully. And as far as it may seem from your current status, it for some of us, not so much me. I don't powerfully have a feeling of it, but I get communications from people who do feel it quite powerfully, and my own focus has been more on my higher self, or the higher self, the monad, and the various incarnations I've experienced as projections of that monad, and tying them all together to become a more, complete being. But this other theme is equally significant, if not more so, and I intend to explore it with you as we move through this OBEJournal 2019. And we shall return. And I bid you a fond farewell from the lovely springtime southern Ontario. And if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, I hope your spring is equally joyous. And if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, I hope that your summer has been pleasant. We do live in a troubled world, no question about that. And we have to be grateful for these small gifts and mercies as we struggle with the pain and suffering that we feel all around, even if our own lives are, unfolding in a pleasant manner, as mine is. So, friends, farewell for now.